Hey, can someone remind me, like, in other times in history, I can't remember, like, what has happened when you have a country, a population that's facing like a ton of debt, often accrued through costly wars, but you have spending, like excessive spending, often by a corrupt or out of touch leadership. You have extreme inequality where the people at the bottom are struggling to get by and often facing sudden food scarcity. And then you often have unwanted or really imbalanced foreign influence that's affecting the leadership's decisions. Like France in the late 18th century, I mean, they just helped us with our American Revolution. They were in a lot of debt, also just from a series of wars with Britain. And you had the king and his sort of foreign queen that were continuing to spend and live this life of luxury out in Versailles. Meanwhile, inequality was just incredibly terrible, and you had the third estate that was so misrepresented in the government that they really kind of had almost no say. And when there was like starvation and famine, and there were bread riots and fish ladies marching in the streets, Marie Antoinette, she didn't actually say let them eat cake, but like she might as well have, right? Or like in China, right around the turn of the century, I mean, they had experienced a lot of debt, a lot of problematic spending and kind of chaos, suppressing the Taiping Rebellion and the Opium Wars, kicking the foreigners out in the Boxer Rebellion. The people at the bottom, especially the Chinese peasants, were just sort of like looking for a way to upend the so-called mandate of heaven and kind of change the dynastic cycle to someone new. Meanwhile, you had a young emperor who was really being controlled by the Dowager Empress Cixi, who took a lot of the money that the Confucian scholars, kind of these experts, really wanted to spend on modernization. They were like, we really need to kind of try to get up to speed with, what Japan is doing, what these other places are doing. But Emperor Cixi was like, you know what, instead, I think I'm just going to build a marble boat in the middle of a lake. What happened in China in like 1911, 1912? I can't remember. Around the same time in Russia, there was like the Tsar, right? And they were fighting this really unpopular war in World War I, accruing a ton of debt, and the people wanted out. They were just struggling to like feed themselves. But the Tsar really wanted to kind of establish his own glory by sending people off to fight. You had like a lack of trust in the leadership, especially because the Tsar's wife was seemingly being sort of controlled and really influenced by this Rasputin character. Over and over again, when the people would march sort of peacefully to kind of the halls of power, asking their leader for help with like their real problems they were experiencing, they were often faced with violence and really a militarization of the leadership against the people. 1917 feels important. What happened?